Hey nerds, welcome to a legendary edition of the Brief Nerdity podcast. I will be your host this week. My name is Ryan. Join me once again is my good friend Trent.
Hello.
And our resident Nintendo fan, TJ.
Hey guys, guess what? Ed Helms is here, and he's covering Zelda songs. Rip da dip da doo doo, rip da dip da rip da doo, rip da dip da doo doo, rip da dip da doo.
Sunrise of Clocktown, my favorite.
So that just happened.
How you guys doing?
I wonder why TJ's on the podcast this week.
I wonder why he sung a Zelda song.
I have no idea.
You mean, why did Ed Helms sing a Zelda song?
Why? What am I behind on? No, I'm just kidding.
We have a new Zelda game, gentlemen.
We do.
And it's good.
Yeah, someone in this podcast has finished the story in it too.
Yeah, tell us about it, Trent.
Well, I'll tell you what happened last night. Last night when I got a message from you with a screenshot of the credits?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Is that a spoiler? Is that considered a spoiler? It has an ending credits at some point?
I don't think that's the spoiler.
It sure doesn't feel like it's ever going to have an end credit. I'll tell you that much.
It was a nice, it was blurry photo, so I appreciated that.
I also did that on purpose, too. I mean, the picture was literally of just a shrine, so I didn't think that would be spoilery, but I moved my camera a little bit as I took the picture just to make sure.
That's a good call. But no, I actually just kind of shows you how excited I was about this game as well. I wasn't sure if I was going to get a Switch or not because I didn't pre-order, but I went and stood in line at Best Buy and got a ticket. And I was like, I'm going to get one. And it's like, I'm a PC gamer. I don't go to stores and wait in line for stuff. Like, my content just unlocks at midnight. Like, this whole, like, going and standing in line and, like, seeing people, I'm just like, this is what console people do. But I was so excited that I didn't care.
Filthy
and
peasants.
I talked to people and, like, had witty banter, and it was fun.
Yeah, I don't go to Mini anymore because I'm also now on the PC Master Race, but I still enjoy them when I do go. It's always good company and fun.
Yeah, if you can wrangle up a couple friends who are also interested in the same thing, then yeah, it could be a good time.
My friend Brandon, he actually got his Switch shipped to him early. It arrived the Thursday day.
Oh, wow.
But he didn't have a game. Like, for some reason, he ordered Zelda and the Switch at the same time. But Zelda didn't show up.
Where did he order it from?
Best Buy.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, because I heard Amazon is messing up a lot of shipments.
Yeah, I've heard that too. But so he had a Switch with like nothing to play it on, and so I was like, "Have you played Shovel Knight yet?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, "Well, download Shovel Knight right now."
I would say, was the marketplace online already?
It was. Yep.
Nice. So yeah, you could download Shovel Knight or one of the other like four games that are available right now.
Yeah, and so he brought it with him to the launch party because he just came to just buy Zelda then. So.
Have you guys looked at the store?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I get that there's only so many games in the store right now, and I'm pulling it up so I can actually know and be accurate when I'm talking about.
And we could do that because it's portable.
I can.
We're all holding it in our hands right now.
The Switch is what he meant.
We're just gonna do a let's play, but only audio.
We could do that. It would be really boring.
It would be really boring.
I think I might have to turn off this whole "it always asks for my password" thing.
Yeah, I totally did that immediately.
So I just thought it was so funny. It's like, it's so new that the Nintendo eShop options are recent releases, coming soon, and enter code. Like, there is no just list of games because everything falls under recent releases or coming soon.
Yeah.
I thought that was. I was like, wait, where's the whole list? I was like, oh, that is the whole list.
Though I will say, I didn't know anything about Blaster Master Zero until today. I mean, I kind of knew it was coming, but I love the original Blaster Master on the NES. But I know they've made several sequels, like on the Genesis and on the PlayStation 1 and things like that.
Game Boy also.
Yeah, are we talking about Bomberman?
Blaster Master.
Is this a different game that I'm not seeing on here?
It comes out Thursday.
It's on coming soon.
Oh, okay.
So I love the original NES. Never was interested in any sequels, but today I think IGN just ran a video of like the first 10 minutes of Blaster Master Zero, and I just kind of casually opened it up. It was the first level from the Blaster Master on the NES, and I was like, is this a remake? Because I'll play it if it's a remake.
Yeah, it's I guess a cool tip. It's really easy to make a Japanese or European account, like store account for your Switch. And since it's region free, you can go into any of those stores and then download any of the stuff, just as long as you have the codes. I know the credit cards, it gets a little weird, especially with the Japanese store. But if you purchase like Japanese eShop points online, you could, load up your account there. But yeah, you can easily make an account, and the Japanese store has quite a bit more games, and they even have demos for Puyo Puyo Tetris and Dragon Quest. So yeah, I downloaded those, and yeah, I mean they just show up with all your other games. They play fine on any account. So Blaster Master is already up in the Japanese store. So if you really wanted to play it now, you could download it from there. And when you download it, the full game's in English too, just automatically
Nice.
puts it into English.
I'll probably wait for reviews, but at
Yeah.
$10, if it's pretty much a polished remake of the original, which is what the first level looked like, then I'm all in because I loved Blaster Master for the NES.
Nice. I will probably be, after I get my hands on an SD card, I'll probably be downloading the famous, like the one that was too big for the console. It was like the Dragon Quest remakes 1 and 2 or something like that.
Oh, yeah, Dragon Quest Heroes, I believe it's called.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are kind of fun, and I've always liked the Dragon Quest games. So
yeah.
So if you guys don't mind me going on a little 2 or 3 minute tirade, I'd like to go on one, if that's okay with you guys.
like
Sure.
angry tirade.
No, I guess I'd say neutral, but so yes, to kind of harken back to the beginning of the conversation, yes, I did complete the story for Zelda, and TJ and many others have gotten onto me or like shook their fists in my direction, being like, "You just rushed through it." But I want to give a little bit of defense for myself, so I ended up putting in about 45 hours or so in the weekend. So I'll just kind of tell a little bit of a story. So I got the midnight launch at Best Buy, and then I ran home and played until 5 a.m., at which I went to bed and woke up and went to work the next day, got home, and then drank 3 Monsters through the course of the evening and played all the way until 2 a.m. after work. Set my alarm. I woke up at 8 and then continued to play all day. I would stop, I would eat lunch and watch a 30-minute TV show, aka a 22-minute TV show, while I was just eating. Something simple like Simpsons or Family Guy, or It's Always Sunny, and then go right back to playing. And then that morning again, I played all the way until 6 a.m. because I just kept playing. I kept playing, and this was Saturday night, Sunday morning. I'm just like, I am not tired. And finally, around 6 a.m., I still wasn't tired and didn't want to go to bed, but I was like, I probably should go to bed though. And so, but I went to bed and set my alarm for 10. So again, only slept about 4 hours, and then continued to play all day on Sunday, only stopping to eat once until the credits rolled about 9 p.m. At which point I was like, I should probably go to bed now.
Yeah.
So calculating all that time, it's an estimate, obviously, but that's about 45 hours. And so I ended up revealing the entire map, so every single tower. I completed the 4 main dungeons of the game, and did about 70 of the 120 shrines, and got the ultimate sword and shield. What would be considered the ultimate sword and shield in that game.
Well, great. Now we know there's an ultimate sword and shield.
Spoiler.
Thank you very much.
Spoilers.
So obviously I have a lot more to do, but I think the way I played it enabled me to enjoy it the most, per se, because I kind of like to go into like a slight role play, because in my mind, like, Zelda is I'm debating. Yeah, like I said, I'm sure you guys know this, but like, she's in Hyrule Castle, right?
Yes, she is in another castle.
You find that out very early on.
Okay, just making sure. I couldn't remember that 45 hours all blend together. So, but she's in there. She's actively like fighting / holding Ganon back, and it's up to me to get myself as powerful as I can, as quickly as I can, to go in and stop her. Not as quickly as I can. Obviously, I ran around and grabbed mushrooms and stuff, but so that was kind of my goal. I was to explore and find stuff and gain strength in any way I can, and gather my allies as much as I can to go on and beat the main story. At which point, during these next 2 weeks until Mass Effect comes out, I could leisurely just explore the world and just have fun with it. So
And my oh my, is there a lot to explore?
there is.
Yeah, I kind of take a balanced approach. Like I will kind of just head in the general direction of one of the main quests, and then if something catches my eye, I'll run off and go do it, or stop and talk, or shop, or attack random camps, just stuff along the way, and that way I kind of keep some kind of progression going without getting totally lost. Like my friend Ben, he's probably put like 35 or 40 hours in it, and he hasn't set foot in one of the main dungeons yet.
Oh,
So he's just like literally just exploring everything, just running around and having a
Yeah.
great time. And he hates open world games, and he's like, I don't know what it is, but this one clicks. So it's I could just, and every now and then I'll just go climb random hills and then just look out. And like I've taken very good use of the screenshot feature on the Switch,
Yes.
which I thought is funny that like the Switch has such a good screenshot feature, and then also like Zelda, spoilers, has a camera function as well.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny.
It's so funny to me that the Switch has like a dedicated screenshot button like on whatever controller you're using, and before you really start using it you kind of think like, well, that's kind of silly to like go out of the way and put a screenshot button on there, but man, I have been using it a ton.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
Yeah, it's great to use as reference, like for reference, because in Zelda, for example, there's a ton of different recipes and stuff that you can discover and like foods you can create. And if you look indoors in a lot of the buildings, there will be posters with pictures of recipes. So if you don't have the ingredients, you could just take a quick screenshot or use like the in-game Zelda camera. Yeah, and then that way you can go, oh, okay, I need like this meat and salt and herbs, and it'll make the steak or whatever. So, and the menus, yeah, it's really useful, especially too like with an open world game like Zelda, you can screenshot like areas on the map. Like you can mark on the map in the game, but you could say like, okay, like I got to remind myself I need to go back here.
Yeah, I've used it for that. Like I've taken screenshots. Like if I'm out, there was one point where I was out of pins. Like I just kept looking around and seeing things I wanted to check out, and I ran out of pins to put on the map.
Yeah.
So I started taking pictures, and then there's a couple of memory puzzles, which is pretty common for Zelda also. So I'll be honest, I kind of cheated a little bit and took screenshots.
Was that the one in the Twin Peaks or the?
Yes.
Yeah, those two shrines. Yeah.
It was. I love that puzzle so much.
It's cool too because a lot of like the side missions that you'll come across, they're almost like riddles in a sense, where they don't just tell you every time this is exactly what you have to do. They kind of like play around with like some of the words. Sometimes they'll even give it to you in like the form of a song, and then you have to figure it out. So like screenshotting those like song lyrics or what they're telling you is another great way to kind of keep track of everything. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And
when you walk into that first dungeon that Ryan and I were talking, it's not a dungeon, it's a shrine. The sign tells you like this one's question is the other one's answer, and if you don't think about it and you start moving stuff around, you're like, ah, crap.
Yeah. And it's really cool because like the Switch's UI is very basic. There really aren't many options to it. But it makes it really quick. Like it is a really snappy UI. I don't know if it'll get slower over time with updates, but as of now, like jumping in and out of the main menu, like while you're playing a game and then like checking your albums for your screenshots and stuff, it's so quick. That's why like it's really useful.
I really love, I had it docked, 99% of my game time, and anytime I'd come back and sit down from eating a meal, I would just hold the home button on my Pro controller. It would pop up, and then I'd press A, and then I'd be right where I was. Just bam, right in the game, right then.
Yeah, I caught a pretty awesome screenshot of my first Blood Moon. I'll be honest. And I didn't know what the heck was going on. I'm looking around, I was like, "What is this?" It was like, and it was such a like cool nuanced effect at first, because like first you start noticing like smoke on the ground, and you're like looking around, and there's like kind of like some eerie music all of a sudden, but it's like really faint, and you're like, "What is going on?" And you're like looking around all of a sudden, and all of a sudden you look up, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
And those blood moons, I don't know if they have a set pattern. It seems like they're kind of random, But man, when they happen, like depending on where you are, it can be terrifying.
They happen at midnight every night, depending on your location. I think if you're like in a story-ish area, it won't happen. But it happens at midnight, and then there's quote-unquote unlucky nights where it will happen multiple times in a night at random times.
Oh wow. Well, because I know it doesn't happen every night, but I also noticed that it didn't happen until after I talked to a guy who told me about them. I don't know if that was just really like lucky, but I noticed that like I just talked to the NPC that explained them about like 5 minutes before that.
And I wouldn't consider this a spoiler, but it doesn't it doesn't affect everywhere because I was at the end of the game. I was at Hyrule Castle just doing that, and then I saw the clock ticking up. It was like 11 o'clock. I was like, oh no, like there's tons and tons of tough enemies there, and when the Blood Moon happens, that's when all the enemies respawn. And I've been kind of like trying to thoroughly explore the castle and stuff like that. And so I was like, these enemies do not need to respawn. I will not survive. But and then it didn't happen there at Hyrule Castle, thankfully. So
Yeah, I can't say enough good about this game. Like I don't even know where I want to start in things that because I thought maybe the shrines would get repetitive or the exploration would get repetitive, and I'm sure maybe it will after I've put a lot more time into it. But every shrine, like every puzzle, is fun and iterative. Like it doesn't hold your hand, but it also doesn't like just give you nothing. Like it's really it's self-instructive the way they design them, and it's just such good puzzle design.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
and they almost train you to think in a different way, like how to solve future puzzles and everything, or puzzles that are just found like in the open world. Because like there's one shrine, for example, it's called Two Bombs, the Two Bombs. So
Oh, yeah.
I won't spoil anything, but yeah, going through that, you kind of realize at one point you get stuck, and then you go, wait a second, is it telling me I could do this? And then you do it, and you're like, oh my gosh, didn't know I could do that.
Yeah, I remember one of them. One of the puzzles, and it wasn't really a puzzle. Like this one was more skill based. Like you had to funnel a ball that was falling using your ice blocks that came out of the side of a wall.
I remember that one.
And it took me forever to realize. I'm like, man, this is really hard being up next to everything. And I looked back over across the way, and there's this big, like unnecessary ramp across the water. I'm like, I wonder if I could do it from over there. Because I was trying to do it literally from like where the ball is falling, because I didn't know what the range was. So it's cool things like that when you realize like, oh. So I don't know if you guys have seen any that just like really made you frustrated, but
Not really frustrated, but just a fun story in regards to that exact same room. Do you know which one he's talking about, TJ? Have you done that one by any chance?
I think I do, but I'm not 100% sure.
It's one where there's like a kind of a 45-degree angle, like waterfall, and there's a ball you have to manipulate down using the ice blocks to get into one of the circle things.
Yep, I do know. I know now.
Okay, yeah. So on that exact one, I don't know if you guys remember, but you know the block, it starts kind of at the top left-hand corner, and then you immediately kind of push it down to kind of start the puzzle. But to the sides of it, or at least to the right side of it, there's just a normal like concrete or whatever path. And so like me being the dummy that I was, you know, I was like, okay, I need to push it down this path like to the right where the water is not, so to speak. And so I freaking used stasis on it and like whacked it and then, you know, sent it down that path. And then like it took me not a long time, but I was like, I thought that'd be an easier way than doing it the way the puzzle wanted me to, but it definitely was not. So,
Yeah.
fine,
And that's the thing. That's another thing too that's so great about the game, the physics. Like they nailed it. I mean, like you said with the stasis, one ability you could do is using stasis, you could freeze an item, but then for like the 5 to 10 seconds that it's frozen, you could keep like whacking it with whatever weapon you have, and it will build up that energy. And then once the stasis wears off, the thing will just go flying. And depending on how many times you hit it, you know, it might go further. But you can use that to like kind of skip over some puzzles too. Just the freedom that they give you. I mean, this game is like the definition of freedom in a video game. It's insane.
Yeah, pretty much. Like shortly after I beat the game, I was really, really curious because they pretty much tell you could go fight Ganon at any point. And so I got curious and I watched someone just do a quick walkthrough or just a speed run, so to speak, of they leave the plateau, Link's still in his underwear, and they head straight to the final boss.
Yeah.
It was a pretty fun video to watch because they in that video they beat it. So I was just like amazed with they had like 3 hearts and they only picked up like whatever weapons they had available to them at the time, and then just
Well,
just like that.
Well, like what Trent, I think this was you saying it. You said your friend is playing and like he's put a ton of time into it, but he hasn't beaten any of the dungeons yet. Is that right?
Yep.
I feel the same way. Like I've probably put like maybe 30 hours, maybe 35. And I just beat the first like major dungeon. And even with that, I was trying to figure out like why, like how have I spent this much time in this world and not even really progressed, but never felt bored. And I really think, kind of comparing it to other open world games, I've played a lot of open world games over the years. I've never really finished a lot of them though. The ones that I have finished are like Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. Like I love the Fallout series, and I was trying to compare that to Zelda and like what makes it different. And I think it comes down to how the map works. Because if you don't know, if you haven't played it yet, you start off with just this little like chunk of map, which is actually it ends up being a big area.
Right.
It's a small piece of the major puzzle. But yeah, so then you explore that, and then there are these towers that pop up all over the world. And if you can get to the top of those towers and activate them, then they'll reveal that section of the map. So you can still go explore those areas without revealing the map. But unlike most other open world games, it doesn't reveal the map as you explore it. Like if you go off into one of those areas that you didn't find the tower for, you're free to explore, but if you check your map, it will not show you anything. You could still put markers down, but you can't see like the terrain or anything like that. And what I'm getting at is with Fallout, whenever I would get to a new area, like a new town or something, I would almost be like, okay, I wasn't planning on finding this. I'm sure it's cool, but now I feel like I need to do every single little thing in this area just to kind of like clear the map. But with Zelda, it's so big that you almost aren't afraid of missing anything because it is just so open, and you don't have to worry about filling out that map. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, am I
Yeah, it
making
makes
sense?
perfect sense. And I actually had an additional theory to kind of go on top of yours there.
Sure.
I think a lot of open world games in this day and age use procedurally generated maps. It's a very easy thing for them to basically procedurally generate a map and then see how it does, and then maybe like tweak a few things here and there to give some things, some originality, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then they add the quests and markers and quest givers and a cave here, and stuff like that in the end. As much as I love Skyrim, like if you look across that, it looks like they just use like a paint tool to kind of paint
Sure.
snow, trees, everywhere, with no real thought to how the world is set up, except for a few different areas. Add a shrine here, add a cave here, things like that. But with Zelda, the fact that Zelda has a unique history of unique landscapes, landmarks, and towns, and everything like that. You have everything from a snowy mountain to Death Mountain to Lake Hyla to Kakariko Village to Gerudo Desert to the Lost Woods. I mean, you have all these iconic Zelda places, and so they placed them all over the map and
Yeah.
have them organically merge into one another as you go across the map. And so not
Yep.
one single square foot of terrain, it felt like, was procedurally generated. Everything
Or
about
wasted.
everything about this ginormous map was used.
Exactly. Because I know that was a lot of people's concerns from like the E3 demo. They're like, okay, it's a giant world, but it seems kind of empty. And I guess you can kind of say that first section that you're in, there are like a few areas that feel a little empty, but you're not really thinking about it because you always have like a goal in mind. But man, I just can't believe I haven't been to like most of the map yet. But in all the areas I've been to, there is always something interesting going on. And the random events, like even the weather changing, I don't remember the last game that I had to worry this much about the weather. The weather factors into it so much, it kind of gives
rain.
you like a little forecast, like telling you, like if a storm's coming. But if you ever get caught in a lightning storm, like it's terrifying, depending on like the area and the situation that you're in. You almost have to stop and like take shelter and wait for the storm to pass. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, I had a quest that I was working the other day. I had to bring like a blue flame up to a certain place,
I know what you're talking about.
and it was raining, and I was like, I was like, freak, I can't do this until it stops raining. Like, there's no way. Like, I have to, like, I went down, I just went around and explored, and it was like, it rained all day. I was like, whatever, I'm going to the inn. And I went, and I was like, what is the point of inns in this game anyway? And then I was like, oh, this is what they're for. And
Yeah.
so I went in, and I woke up the next day, and it was sunny, and I was like, quick, before it rains again, just like running over to the stupid thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the NPCs too have so much personality. I mean, even like a
Yes.
character, you might see like a character once and then never see them again. But if you just stand there and even watch that character, just they react to like the weather and what's going on around them. It's just incredible what they've done. The fact that this can run on Wii U, and I guess it runs pretty similar to how it does on Switch. It just blows my mind what they did.
Yeah, and I've noticed that also, talking about kind of the iterative puzzle design, they also did kind of iterative world design. Because you were talking about like rain challenges and lightning storms. I actually haven't come across a thunderstorm yet. But I know now that if it's raining, there's obviously certain things you can't do. But also, if you're climbing in the rain, it becomes hugely more difficult. Like, you'll slip a lot more often.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's such a small detail, but it's so cool.
Yeah. It seems like it wouldn't really make that big of a difference, but it really does. Like there was one scenario where I saw a shrine that was down in like the bottom of a valley, and it was like on kind of on a little island surrounded by water. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go down there, and then there's a wall I can climb up, no big deal. So I went down there, did the shrine. When I came out and started climbing, it started raining. So then I would slip, and I'm like, okay, I don't have enough stamina. It's still early in the game. I can't swim anywhere. I can't climb. Like, I need to wait this out. And yeah, that's what I had to do. But even that, like, you're never like frustrated. It's never like, oh geez, I have to wait for this to pass. Like, you can always find something to do.
Yeah, and it's like Ryan was saying about the kind of the classic Zelda locations. When I first loaded the game, it's like, you talk to the old man, and he's like, "Hey, go over there," and I'm like, "No, it's okay. I see the Temple of Time. I'm gonna go over there first because it's the Temple of Time, and I'm excited because the last Zelda game I played fully was Ocarina of Time,
Sure.
and so like I love that building." And I walked over there, and I was just like, "Oh, it's so beautiful," and I'm so heartbroken because of the state that it's in, and I was like, "Oh, dagger." But it's just yeah, it's good, so good.
Yeah, and Ryan, like you were saying, how you kind of like powered through the story just because you were playing so much. This is the first game in a really long time that has caused me to stay up really, really late. Like I'm getting older, like I get tired really early, but this has held my attention so much that like I just completely lose track of time when I'm playing. And when I'm not playing it, like I'm thinking about it. Um, it's man, it's magic. Like as lame as that term sounds to describe it, it really is like a magical game that I think everyone needs to really give a shot.
Definitely. TJ would know that my initial impressions of the game weren't as positive.
Yeah.
I would say they weren't negative.
Yeah.
It sounded like your tone, TJ, that I was like kind of crapping on the game. But even as I give my critique of some things, like I still overall really, really love the game.
Sure.
So you and Trent and all of our listeners should keep that in mind. But there were a couple things that I was disappointed about and still kind of am. Some of them are spoilery, and I won't talk about until we get to the point where we can talk about it. But some of the non-spoiler-free ones are the weapon breaking. Now, I don't really mind weapon breaking in games. It's kind of a part of the game. I just really wish there was a way to repair, or they just didn't break as fast. Because there've been some times in the games where I'm fighting a quote unquote normal enemy. It's probably a little bit stronger moblin, so to speak, but it's not even a mini boss. And like I'm fighting them, and I break like 5 weapons during the course of just fighting this one single enemy.
Sure.
And I felt that was a little bit excessive at some points.
But I think with the weapons breaking though, it causes you to put a lot of thought and planning into every single battle. Because if you just found like one weapon that you knew was never going to break, and you figure it out, how to use it to the best of its ability, you kind of stop being afraid to go into fights. You're not really intimidated by any scenarios that are thrown at you anymore. But with this, it's like, okay, I found this really awesome weapon, but this weapon's really precious. I can't really store it anywhere. I have to keep it with me. It's going to break eventually, so I'm only going to use it when I really need to.
Yeah. And I
Well,
think it's probably a weakness on my part. Sorry, Trent, but it's
No,
a
you're good.
weakness on my part because I would find myself avoiding fights because I didn't want to use my weapons to break. I felt like I would at least lose some hearts, and so I'd have to use some of my precious meals that I've made. And I probably would just get some more like moblin horns from it, and or bogoblin horns. And I'm like, nah, and I'll just skip a fight, and try to save it for something bigger or more worthwhile. And it's probably a weakness on my part, but um, I mean,
But
I was
see,
sad that it came to that at some points.
But see, that's what you kind of have to be careful with, because you might see like a camp that looks similar to a camp that you saw before, and you see like the moblins, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. There's probably nothing there. But sometimes the game will give you unexpected rewards for doing something that looks like more of the same. Like for example, I was climbing the side of a mountain in like a new area, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep going to the top. There were a few layers where I could stop and rest and stuff with some things going on, but I was like, all right, my main goal is to just climb to the top. And near the top, as I was climbing up, I looked to my left, and there was this one random, like, pretty big rock structure and a few boulders by it. Not like the cracked wall where you could normally bomb it, but just a few boulders. And I'm like, okay, I wonder if there's anything with that. So I threw a bomb. It moved one of the rocks, but it didn't blow up. I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. And I noticed there was a big rock in a hole, and the rock was like wedged in there. It was too big to really pull out of there. But I noticed there was just enough space where I can crouch down and crawl in. And when I went in there were treasure chests and all golden weapons that most of which I've never even seen before. Like someone went in there and just like stashed them in there. And
Nice.
I picked him up, and I just remember thinking, like, this isn't a totally random spot. I looked on the map. It's not near any major landmarks. Like, I wonder how many people are ever even going to find this. And that's another thing that's so great about this game where, yeah, you don't want to spoil the story, but little moments like that, like this game encourages you to talk with your friends and share those stories and those events that happen, because you guys might never find that cave. Like, that's just how big the game is.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The one thing that I find myself, because TJ was talking about how like you treat your really good weapons as precious. My hang up is that I'll never use them because I would just keep picking up like every like Boko club, and I'm like, nope, I'm using this because I might come across a boss, and that's when I'm pulling out the good stuff. And so it's like I have these two really good swords in my bag that I have not touched yet because I want to save them for the first time that I fight like any kind of boss. And so it's like every now and then I'll find myself looking. It's like, all right, I got two like damaged clubs. Time to go find some moblins and stuff.
But
I did the same thing with meals. Like sometimes I quote unquote accidentally cooked a meal that gave you full heart recovery and then like maybe like 6 bonus hearts and stuff like that. And then I like, oh, I definitely got to save that. I think I had like 10 of them going into the final boss fight and ended up using like 2. I was like, oh, well.
Yeah, well, that was the funny thing about when I first learned to cook. And I'm like, oh, you can hold 5 things. Throw them all in there. And I'm like, wow, this thing restores like 6 hearts. I only have 3.
Yeah. But kind of like what you were saying with the weapons, Trent, like you said you have those 2 weapons that are really good and you haven't used them yet. That's what's so great about it, is then you're going to get to a moment where you're going to stop and go, okay, it's time to use those weapons. And it's just going to feel awesome. Because these weapons that, you've grown attached to, you've carried with you for, probably hours on end. Now it's like, all right, now's the time to use it. Like, this is why I've been carrying these this whole time.
And then it breaks in 20 hits.
Yeah, the only thing I wish there was a distinction of right now is like the gathering tools versus the weapons. Like I get that you can use the gathering tools as weapons, but things like the sledgehammer and like the woodcutter's axe, I wish that could be in a different slot almost.
Yeah, I was so excited to finally find a Deku leaf so I could move a raft, and so I kept it with me the whole game. just in case I ever needed to, push that raft around.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing, but you can find those if you knock down trees. Sometimes they'll fall out of them. So it seems like they're kind of hard to find, but if you knock down enough trees, you can find a new one. But yeah, I've been carrying the same one with me for a really long time now.
That's kind of another funny thing. You have the option to buy that house, and you're required to get so much wood.
I knew it. I've
And
been saving like the pitchfork and everything. I'm like, I'm ready. I am so ready to be a homeowner in this game. Like, point me to it.
it was like, you need X amount of wood bundles, and I'm like, I was like probably about 75% through the game at that point, and I only found like 3, and I'm like, where are the other wood bundles? And one time I accidentally blew up a tree with a bomb while I was fighting an enemy, and there's like two wood stacks sitting right there. I'm like, oh, that's how you do it.
Yeah, after I saw you could buy the house and I saw you need 30 like wood equipment, I was like, okay, I found the nearest forest and I just went in there and I just like decimated that whole forest to collect the wood. It was great.
Well, it's funny.
Luckily, I didn't have the 3,000 rupees yet, but yeah.
Yeah, there's that too. Revisiting the NPC stuff real quick and kind of like the character that they have. I'm just running around one of the stable areas right now while we talk, and I was cooking food, and there's this girl sitting by the fire, and she's just saying random stuff. But it started raining, and the fire under the cook pot goes out, and she like reacts to the rain, like covers her head, and like goes running inside. I was like, it's such a cool little thing.
Yeah, and kind of like how Majora's Mask was, if you follow people around, they have like their daily routines and stuff. They won't just always stand in one spot. Some might, depending on, like if they have a quest for you or something, but other characters, yeah, they'll go about like their day and they'll have like, chores and stuff that they're doing. And yeah, like you said, they react to like the random events that happen. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But another thing too, I love like the NPC interface. Maybe you guys have seen it in other games, but I personally haven't. Not saying that it hasn't been done, but I've just never seen it. Where when you get close enough to a character, before you even talk to them, like that thought bubble appears above their head, and it'll say like a sentence or even a few words to kind of give you an idea of what you're going to talk to them about. So, there's some people, you might see that and go, oh, okay, I don't need to talk to them, or, oh, I already talked to them. I just thought that was a really cool little touch that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't played, but I want to find out, or maybe I'm hoping that I'll find more about the banana people and why they're so angry.
Yeah, you will. That's all I'll say is you will.
It's good stuff.
So,
did you have the same thought when you were at that point of the game, TJ? And you just think, DK's Banana Horde?
You know what? Surprisingly, no, I didn't. But now I will forever think that.
I totally want to take a screenshot, then add like the little wooden sign from Donkey Kong Country in as Photoshop and put it at that moment and post it online. Would have been raining karma.
Well, that's another thing too. I don't know if you've done it with the screenshots yet, but when you have your screenshots, you can go into the album and you can actually add like text to them, and then post them on like Twitter or Facebook. So people are saying like you can make your own memes, but I mean a screenshot or a picture with words on it doesn't automatically make it a meme.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they even added that in there. So yeah, you could just slap that like DK's like Banana Horde or whatever you want on there.
Nice. I have to go back and get that screenshot. It's pretty funny though.
So I take it you both love the game very much.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny. It's just so weird, like having a new console since midnight on Friday, and I bought a couple other games with it. I bought like 1-2 Switch, Bomberman, and I downloaded Snipper Clips and Shovel Knight, the treasure trove. I tried Shovel Knight out a little bit, just to see how it plays. I played the original Shovel Knight, but not any of the add-on content. So that's why I thought it'd be worth it to get it again. I played a little bit of Bomberman, and I had fun with those, but I just keep thinking about Zelda. Like I just can't stop playing Zelda.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I was right there in that same boat.
Yeah, I mean it's recapturing the feeling that I got the first time that I played Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
And I haven't played enough to compare the two, and I don't know if they're comparable necessarily just in the way that they're designed. But just I understand why people are giving it perfect scores and reviews and stuff. It's so much fun.
Yeah. And it kind of reminds me of the original Zelda on NES, where they
Yeah.
didn't really present you with a lot of barriers, like, oh, you need this item in order to go to this section of the map. And that's how this game is. I mean, once you complete like the first couple quests in the main area and you get the glider, that's when it just fully opens up. And it's up to you to get to an area and go, whoa, I'm definitely not supposed to be here yet. They don't force you to leave, but you just know, like, I'm not going to survive right now if I stay here. I have to come back to this.
Yeah, there's that. I had that moment several times of just wandering, and then I saw a certain enemy type, and just my knowledge of Zelda games, I'm like, I am not ready to fight that thing. And,
Yeah.
but then I was like, wait a minute, if I die, they'll just put me right back here, and I'm like, charge, and then dead.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yep, that happened.
Speaking of, mounted combat is so much more fun than I was expecting. I was really worried about how it would go, and I just tamed my first horse, and just like running along and like just knowing like where to swing and everything, and like the long weapons versus short weapons versus like shooting and like turning the controller to aim while your horse keeps running. Everything is good.
Well, I agree. And speaking of mounted combat, I won't say what, but horses are definitely not the only animal that you can ride in that game. There was one real life animal that I couldn't believe they even put in here, and then I couldn't believe you could ride it. So I won't say it because you'll have that moment and you'll appreciate the surprise. But if there's an animal that walks on four legs and is big, you can most likely ride it.
Well, it's funny because I go to the first stable area, and they're talking to me about horses, and they're like, "Oh, the spotted ones are easier," and I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever. There's a solid black one over there. I got this." And that thing put me on the ground in no time flat. I was like, "I was hitting Soothe. What did I do wrong? Love me."
You can't just go straight to Black Beauty. You got to start with Mr. Ed.
But I have an adorable brown and tan spotted horse named Adobe. And so her and I are doing quite well.
See, I caught a horse and was riding him for a little while, but then I used my amiibo and got Epona, and then I just rode Epona everywhere.
Oh yeah, I could freaking A. I can see that. Yeah, Ben was telling me, my friend Ben, he's got the Twilight Princess wolf link, and he says it's just incredible to have that companion with you. And apparently, like if you leave him behind and like tell him to stay and like leave him, he'll start whining.
Yeah.
He's sad that you're leaving him, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and not only does it help you fight, but if there's shrines in the area, like if your shrine like sensor starts going off, he'll point you in the right direction. Because sometimes shrines, like you could be close to one and not even realize you're right by it. But yeah, it'll help kind of guide you and show you the way how to get to them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I only had him around for a little while because I'd never leveled him up in Twilight Princess, so he never lasted long in a fight.
Well, it's so weird because my brother-in-law, he didn't play much of Twilight Princess HD at all, and he definitely never did that dungeon in that game where you can level him up. But for some reason, he scanned his Wolf Link amiibo in, and it's fully powered up. It has 20 hearts. Like, I don't know if maybe they gave him that because he never did anything with it. That'd be kind of a weird way to reward people for not using it. Or I don't know if it's some sort of glitch, but yeah, it's consistently just fully powered up.
I don't think so because I honestly I didn't use it at all in Twilight Princess either. So
Oh sure, well, I really don't get it then. I have no idea how that happened.
So related to that, as someone who didn't own a Wii U and never played Wind Waker or Twilight Princess, do you know if those has there been any kind of announcement as to whether those are going to be coming to the like digital store for the Switch? Because I really want to play both of them, but I'm considering buying a Wii U for it. But if they're going to come to the Switch anyway, then I'm not going to.
There's no
Nothing.
announcement right now.
Yeah, nothing yet. I'd be really surprised if like there's a ton of rumors of the GameCube Virtual Console coming to Switch. I really hope those rumors are true, but nothing's official yet. So I could see them potentially bringing over the GameCube versions of those games. I mean, I could see them porting over like the HD versions to Switch, but I know they really used like the touch screen and stuff a lot. It wasn't necessary. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's a really good question. I'm kind of rambling now the more I think about it, but yeah, I guess potentially they could. I don't see why
I would
they
bet a
would.
lot of money that they would. I mean,
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8 is already coming over. It's pretty heavily rumored at this point that the Smash Brothers, the same version as the Wii U one, is going to be ported over
Hmm.
with all the DLC and things like that. Even though it's Splatoon 2, it's pretty much a port of Splatoon 1 with extra maps and features and stuff like that. I could definitely see them like using the Splatoon 1 as like a base and then adding on to it and making it. I mean, I guess you can say that for any game anyways, but
Yeah, because that Splatoon 2 does have a whole brand new single player campaign too. They just haven't shown it yet.
yeah. So I just think that they're going to be moving over every one of their big Wii U games. Like I'm sure Mario Maker is coming as well.
Yeah, because I've got to imagine, as much as I enjoyed, because like my friend Ben, when we were living together, he had one, and so I played a lot with the Wii U and really enjoyed it. But it didn't sell as well as they would like,
No.
obviously. And so I'm wondering, like, I mean, it would make a lot of sense for them to bring over all these games because they didn't really get their money's worth for a lot of them yet, I
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah. No, it's true. That's a really good point. I really think Mario Kart's kind of going to test the waters with that. Um, Zelda doesn't really count because it's a simultaneous launch, but I mean, bringing Mario Kart back, Mario Kart's like a few years old now. But just bringing that back and then adding, some new content, not a major amount, but I think enough to justify a second time purchase if you really enjoyed it on Wii U. But yeah, I think that's kind of going to test the waters and see like, oh, okay, these do sell really well. What other games can we bring over?
Wind Waker HD made me so happy.
They did a great job with that one. They really did.
Yeah, it was so well done.
Yeah, it looks amazing, and I really, really want to play it and the Twilight Princess remake. So I'm debating whether I should wait because I mean Wii U's are going to get harder and harder to find.
Yeah,
I would wait personally. Still,
yeah, I would. You have enough Zelda to play right now. It'll keep you busy for a long time.
And
Well, I
the
know.
Wii U is
I'm just
honestly.
worried.
Go
I'm
ahead.
just worried more about like finding a new unused console down the road, like a year or two from now.
If you want it unused, then yeah, it might be a harder deal.
Yeah.
But even as it stands right now, I think Wii U's are priced a little bit high.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably true.
I was really surprised they never did like a really big price drop on that. Even for the holidays and stuff, like they just didn't push it out. Like they didn't give it that last final push before the Switch. And now that the Switch is out, I would hope they drop the price on it. But honestly, I don't even know if there's really enough out there to really push a big sale on it.
Yeah, I mean, even right now, I'm looking on Amazon, and a certified refurbished is $288 for Nintendo. Let's see, and then the Wii U 32 gig Mario Kart 8 deluxe set is $250 used. So
I really feel like Wii U is kind of going to go the way of the Dreamcast, where I guess, sales wise, it was considered overall like a failure. But years later, Dreamcast has built a really strong cult following, and people go back and they realize like it really wasn't a bad system. It just was either ahead of its time or just, couldn't compete with the competition. But I don't think enough people appreciate Wii U, but I think they will more and more as the years go on.
I'm one of those people who loves the Wii U and think it was a huge, huge improvement and step up over the Wii, not just in terms of console quality, but game quality as well, overall.
I just think one of the main things that killed it was the marketing. It was so confusing to the average consumer. So confusing.
I had people who were nerds and part of the tech world that I worked with, and they were like, wait, it's not just an add-on for the Wii? And if people in the know or semi-nerds and techie people don't know that, then the average person isn't either.
Yeah, I had to explain to my friend, even it was like last year or the year before, that they thought the Wii U was just a touch screen controller for the Wii.
Yeah. I know when the Wii U came out, I was working a retail job at the time. And I remember I wasn't working at Best Buy. I had like a contract job where I was working in Best Buy for a different company. But I would see like so many people in the gaming department just go, okay, well, I already have a Wii, so I just need the controller. Like I don't need the whole system again. And I mean, that was during the holiday season when it came out. It was just
Oh wow.
mass confusion across the board. It was terrible.
Yeah. But the Switch doesn't have that problem.
Nope.
No.
And there was an announcement today that it is the first or the number one day one selling console in Nintendo history.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think Zelda is like their best selling first party game too for first day sales as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was such a smart decision for them to launch with Zelda. Um, like I haven't seen that many people in one place excited about Nintendo in years.
Yeah. Well, one last thing about Zelda, because I mean, like we said earlier, we could keep talking about it, for hours and hours, I'm sure. But one other thing I just want to say about Zelda, compared to other open game worlds, I can't believe how much time I've put into it already and haven't encountered one bug. Like Ryan, you played through the story. Did you encounter any major like glitches or anything?
Nope. The only thing I would say is frame rate stutters.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
other than that, no.
Yeah, I've had some frame rate stuff, and I've had a little bit of hardware problems when I'm using the controller dock while the system is docked to my TV.
Mhm.
My left Joy-Con will have sync issues, and
Lots
so
of people
like
have been saying that.
Yeah, it's been happening.
yeah, so like I'll run left and then I'll try to stop, and then I look down and I'm still running, and the little lights are going up and down like it's trying to repair again. But I mean, it hasn't caused me to die or anything yet, and so like it's not game breaking yet, and I'm hoping that maybe they'll release like a firmware update or something that'll fix it.
Well, it's definitely not game breaking, but in this day and age, though, it's really unacceptable. Especially coming from the company that invented the Wavebird. They came
Yeah.
out with like the perfect wireless controller when wireless controllers were awful. So like they kind of set the standards for wireless, and then to have these wireless issues now, it's like, oh, what's going on?
Well, but just knowing a little bit about wireless technology, I mean, each one has to have its own unique signal, from what I understand, if they're being separated and then docked on that dock. And I'm wondering if their signals are getting crossed between the two Joy Cons.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I know with a lot of wireless technology and Bluetooth technology, the customer service stuff, they always say for troubleshooting to keep those devices at least 6 inches from each other.
Hmm.
Um, like if you have multiple Logitech, dongles for your various wireless peripherals, you shouldn't plug them in right next to each other, type stuff,
Sure.
things like that. So I'm wondering if that has anything to do with what's going on.
But see, then kind of like to counter that a little bit, you don't need to play with the grip. The grip is definitely an option, but you can have both controllers separate, one in each hand. You can have your arms spread apart, have them much further away than they would be in the grip, and you can still experience that issue. I mean, if you look online, there's
That's
so many
true.
theories as to what's going on, and people say like, oh, it works this way if you do this, but it doesn't work this way. Nintendo's acknowledged it, but they still haven't really come out with like a fix for it necessarily,
Well,
or they haven't even really said like, oh no, that's normal behavior, or no, there's no way that can be fixed, like that's just how it is.
I just think it's funny that like how quickly people are to like post their fixes. Like it works if you do this. It's like, yeah, it works if you blow in the cartridge. Like,
Yeah. So I guess like now that did you guys have any like final thoughts about Zelda before we move on to just the Switch hardware itself?
I would like to take a minute, 1 minute, just to talk about just a few of my other critiques, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is another thing I kind of mentioned to you in chat already, but even though, once again, this game is amazing, it's a really, 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 really good game, and I love it. There were just several Zelda tropes that I felt were missing, and I won't go into any details until you guys get further on, but they're things that I define as what needs to be in every Zelda game, quote unquote, and they were missing in this. And as a hardcore longtime Zelda fan, I missed those things. Not to say the game was hurting from missing some of them, where I definitely felt it was hurting for missing some as well. Um, that was a big thing for me, and we could talk more in details once you guys get further along or beat the game as well.
Sure.
Another one I want to call out is kind of the music. The music has been very, very iconic and memorable in every Zelda game, but this one, with the exception to the music, in the final dungeon. I'll say that, which is very, very, very good. Outside that, the music is pretty bland or unfamiliar. No, unfamiliar is not the right word. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here, but it just seems it won't be memorable at all. These songs, and
Huh.
which I feel is disappointing.
Yeah, I
Also, the
can't.
voice acting. Go ahead, sorry, TJ.
Oh no, I was gonna say is when it comes to the music, I can't really say that I feel the same, but maybe as I go through the story more, maybe I'll understand a bit better kind of what you're talking about. For those of you that haven't played it yet, it's not constant music playing. Like in most video games, there could be a lot of times where you're just out exploring and there's no music, but then music will kick in when like enemies are nearby or if something is like in the area. So it doesn't have music in the traditional sense that most games have it. But yeah, I don't know. I never really got that feeling. There was never any songs that I've heard that I was like, I don't really like this or I don't really care for this.
Well, it's not really that I didn't like it or didn't care. It's just that it wasn't memorable. Like I'm sure you couldn't really like hum or whistle a tune from Breath of the Wild yet, or maybe one. Whereas Zelda has always had iconic music, and each new Zelda game has added a song that is iconic and kind of makes it its own.
Sure.
But I don't feel that Breath of the Wild did that at all.
Yeah, I can't compare any of the dungeon music yet because I haven't been in any, but like Kakariko Village, for example, I found the music to be really peaceful and very atmospheric. But I definitely get what you're saying that it doesn't seem iconic yet. I don't know. I haven't been bothered by the music, but I haven't really had the big epic to epic moment yet. So I'm kind of reserving judgment on that one.
Yeah, and I guess I should reword it saying that the music isn't bad at all, but
Sure.
it's not memorable so far. Like I could, TJ, I could say like sing a few songs that were new or exclusive to Twilight Princess or hum them, and you would have a couple, in your mind. Same
Sure.
thing with Wind Waker and and stuff like that. But it never really happens, at least for me in Breath of the Wild. Maybe it'll change for you, but.
See, then I kind of wonder how long it takes before those songs do become iconic and do stick with you. Like, yeah, I'm sure, all of us can hum, like, some of the songs from, like, Ocarina of Time, but how long did it take once that game came out before we did kind of let those songs sink in?
And how repetitive were they?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be possible.
Yeah, but no, I totally get what you're saying though. It's a valid point.
I just know like the title screen / credits music for Wind Waker almost brings me to tears just listening to it for no other reason that the fact it's a beautiful song and my emotions attached to that song and the game itself.
Yeah,
and I just don't know if that'll ever happen with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I don't know like if they use any of the music from the trailer, but like I keep thinking of like trying to think of music from the game, and I keep thinking back to that Switch, press conference trailer.
Yeah.
Like that violin.
Yeah.
And I felt like the game could have used some moments like that. Like imagine when you first leave the Great Plateau, and you full out your sail and you start flying. Like they could have started playing a triumphant music cue then, but nope, just silence.
But are you saying should they have played it just for that first time or every time?
Oh, just that first time. Leaving the plateau for the first time.
Yeah.
Or similar moments like that throughout the story.
But see, even that. So let's say they did that and it was a good song. If that's the only time you hear it throughout this, possibly 100+ hour long game, would it be memorable? Because I think Trent's right. I think in those older games, they shove that music down your throat. Like they jam it in your ears like the whole game because there's always music playing, especially like if you're in a dungeon that you're kind of stuck in or it takes you a little while to get through. That song is looping over and over and over again.
Yeah, touche.
Yeah, and the music doesn't really work like that in this. But I do get what you're saying though.
And there are a couple moments where they reuse or have remix versions of older classic Zelda songs, and I got really excited there for a moment, obviously.
Yeah.
But, okay. And just the last final point is the voice acting is terrible.
Yeah, I haven't heard all the characters talk yet, since I haven't gotten through it. And Trent, like kind of based on where you said you're at, you probably haven't heard many voices at all. The voices only really happen in like the cutscenes and then like a few other areas.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard 3 characters that have had actual voice acted lines.
Mhm.
They, I mean, they're not amazing or anything. I mean, they're not like BioWare level, but I mean, and I don't mean this to be, I don't want this to sound bad, but like I just kind of associate it with Japanese games. It's kind of like that kind of over the top, like like type exposition. But so I don't know.
I think they should have just brought back the whole voice cast from Xenoblade Chronicles. All British people.
Back the voice cast from the '80s Zelda cartoon.
Well, excuse me, princess.
Oh my god. Well, it seems like a couple of the characters are a lot more British than I was expecting.
Yeah, especially Zelda. Goodness.
Right? And I'm like, huh. And like, I don't think this is a huge trailer, but like one of the characters you hear from, based like on the line from the trailer, is Zelda's father. And so it's like he is also very British. I'm like, that's interesting, an interesting choice. But I mean, it's the first time we've ever heard the voices of any of these people before.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can't believe they got Gilbert Gottfried to do the voice of Ganon, though. That was really out of left field.
Yeah, it really threw off in the the final boss fight.
and he just
Cave of Wonders.
Yeah, I was gonna say he just recycled all of his lines from Aladdin. It was really strange.
I hate you guys.
Oh well, yeah. Well, I'm excited to talk about this more. Going into the future. Every couple weeks or so, I'm sure we'll have new stories to share.
We will definitely.
Yeah, I think we should really talk about like the Switch hardware itself, though. I'd love to hear, now that you guys have had a weekend with it hands-on, like what do you guys think of the hardware itself?
It's amazing piece of hardware. I love the way it feels, both with the Joy-Cons on it and off.
Mm-hmm.
It really feels like a premium device. Not to rag on Nintendo, but they've all of Nintendo's consoles have always had like a preschool feel to them, in my opinion. Not
sure.
Totally that direction, but and not the actual preschool, but like the toy brand preschool.
Yeah,
it's kind of what I meant. The gamepad kind of felt a little bit like that. The Wii Emote and the nunchuck were just so like light, and they creaked in your hands as you played them. And then of course, like the GameCube had a lunchbox handle on the back of it, and
hey, I love that lunchbox handle.
And so I didn't hate it either. But just technologically, it just feels so premium, and for the $300 price point, I really, really, really love it. The fact that the Joy-Cons work seamlessly, minus your problem that you and other people are having. The fact you could use it in so many ways, it just has a lot of utility to it. I mean, use each Joy-Con as its own controller, or have them docked on the little controller dock thing, the gamepad controller, or hold them separately.
Yeah,
all this stuff. I've personally used the Pro Controller. I went ahead and bought one on day one, and I just used that pretty much exclusively for my Zelda playing. But using the Joy-Cons on the go and mobile, it felt great.
Well, see, that's one thing. Just to interject really quick, to kind of piggyback off that before you give your impressions, Trent. But I was kind of nervous about buying a Pro Controller at first because I didn't want to get spoiled. I didn't want to use that and then have a hard time just going into portable mode and playing with the Joy-Cons. So, but then, I decided, all right, I'm going to get one. And I've actually, over the weekend, I've played Zelda quite a bit, both on the TV, docked, and in portable mode, just with the Joy-Cons attached. And going back and forth, it is not, like, it's not difficult at all. Like, you get used to both very quickly. Yeah, I don't know if, Ryan, have you played with, like, in portable mode at all?
That one day I was at work, I told you, on Friday. I played it a little bit on my breaks and like during my lunch, and then of course I was showing it around to everybody in the office and stuff like that. And so
Sure.
probably maybe about 1 hour total.
Sure.
Maybe. But yeah.
Because that was another thing too. A game like Zelda, just that huge open world. I was like, is this really going to translate to like portable? Is it really gonna like? Am I going to feel like I'm missing out by not playing on the TV? But I guess that screen is just gorgeous, and it really is like a fairly decent size. That no, it doesn't ruin anything for me. I still get sucked in.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with everything, kind of everything you guys have already said. I'm a little bit disappointed in the kickstand for when you try to like set up
Sure.
the console. Like I'm
Oh
gonna be
yeah.
taking a couple trips in April, and I don't know if I'm just way too spoiled by having a Surface Pro device at work, because those kickstands are really amazing, and just the range of adjustability is so complete. It's like the Switch one isn't bad, and so I'm not like worried about it falling over necessarily or anything like that. But it's like I feel like only having the one angle setting could be problematic at times.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I'm on a plane, I also don't really know if I'm gonna want to set it on the tray table or just hold it in mobile mode. You know, like unless I'm playing a game that like the Joy Cons become two controllers,
Hmm.
I'll probably just have them docked to the side and using it like I would, just a big Game Boy type experience. Um, the only thing that's difficult for me to get used to, and this is just a generic Nintendo thing, is that I've played the Xbox for so long that the bottom button feels like A to me
Oh.
now, and like and the like the yes press do this button, whereas like the select and cancel buttons are reversed, so I'm constantly hitting the wrong one.
Oh yeah.
But that's just me getting used to it.
Yeah, I see what you mean on that kickstand because yeah, like what you were saying, Ryan, it doesn't feel like a toy. It feels like a very solid piece of hardware. Like for the $300, you really are getting like overall good quality, like or great quality. But then there's just little things that do feel kind of chintzy, like that stand. It's
Mhm.
not a game breaker, but I definitely feel like it could have been done a bit better. And then I don't know if you guys have noticed, I'm looking at mine right now, but it drives me crazy the little tab or like the door to where you put the game carts in.
It doesn't
It
open.
doesn't it doesn't open all the way, but it doesn't also close all the way. Like the little tabs that should lock it in, they'll kind of pop out sometimes. And I'm looking at it across the room right now, and those two little tabs are sticking out. It just feels kind of
Hmm.
like loose, like not up to par with the rest of the system.
Mine doesn't really have that problem. I just kind of opened and closed mine. It kind of just snaps shut, and it's pretty flush for me.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I feel like when I open it to put a game in, I'm worried I'm gonna break it.
Yeah.
Um, but when I push it down, it goes flush for me.
Huh. Yeah, and I don't know if maybe that's just mine because I've played a few other games. Like I've taken Zelda out and put some other stuff in there too. So I don't know. Maybe it just like is already just kind of wearing out a little bit, or just you know what I mean.
Yeah. Something. Have you guys bought or are planning on buying like a screen protector or anything for it, or like an additional case or anything like that?
I want a case, whether I get the Zelda one eventually or a whole separate one. I'm not sure yet, but I definitely want a case. But no screen protector. I hate screen protectors.
Well, see, and I normally wouldn't either, but I'm a little bit worried about this because a friend of mine, Ross, actually uh, talked to me about a video that he was watching of a guy who, it pains me to say it out loud, but he bought a Switch with the intention of breaking it on purpose, but for the reason of being able to explain its strengths and weaknesses to the average user.
Hmm.
And he found out that the screen is actually not glass. It's a kind of a touch plastic
Yeah.
almost, but like a really hard, like glass feeling plastic,
Hmm.
which means that it's so much less likely to shatter, but it is going to be much more problematic to deal with scratches. It's going to
More
scratch
prone.
so
Yeah.
much easier. Yeah, prone.
Well, I've even seen like there's a popular YouTuber that he just released a video and he's like, look at this, the dock scratched my screen already, and he showed the scratches and I get it. That's another thing too. The dock itself, I feel like I need to be very careful putting it in
Oh, yeah.
there and taking it out.
I have
Um,
been. I go so slow every
yeah.
time.
But the scratches that he showed, they were on the left-hand side, like kind of on the bezel, not on the screen itself. But I don't even understand how those scratches got on there. Like if it was the dock, I don't know if it's just like clickbait or what. I don't want to accuse the guy of doing anything, but people are talking about these scratches, and I really don't understand how they're getting them in the spots that they're getting them in.
I won't say I'll be immune to it because I probably won't, but I tend to be very careful and take good care of these things.
Sure.
And also, let's be real, it's Nintendo. There's gonna within 2 years, there's gonna be a new Switch release or a remodel, a re-release, a new Nintendo Switch or something like that. And I always upgrade every time
Sure.
Nintendo does it. So I'll sell this one and then buy myself the new upgraded Switch. That's what I've done that for all my consoles. Yeah, that's why I never had an Xbox 360 that red ring to death, because I bought the original Xbox 360, and then I bought the Black Elite, and then I bought the Slim. It's like every time.
That Black Elite of yours is still going strong, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot you ended up with that one.
I don't have it anymore. I gave it to another friend of mine, but it's still going strong and actively being played. So
nice. And so same thing. Like I just sold my PS4 and upgraded the Pro. Don't know if I'll do it with the Xbox Scorpio, just because all of the games are on PC now. So, but yeah. So going back, I usually upgrade my consoles to the point to where they never get beat up terribly or break.
yeah,
so
Sure.
I'm not super worried about it in my case. But I do want a case for it, because I was really nervous kind of just putting it in my laptop bag and taking it to work as is. I was like, eh.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm a little bit worried. Like, I never worried about my 3DS because it closes. Like,
Yeah.
and I've always loved that about it. But like, I feel like the other day when I took this upstairs to do like just hang out with my family and keep playing. When we had big family dinner stuff, it was like I was terrified to just leave it sitting anywhere, especially with little people around.
Yeah.
And so like I had to go put it away again in a safe place. Whereas like if it's 3DS, I would just close it and like put on the counter or the mantle or something
Sure.
while I was visiting my parents. And so it's just like like I want something to like encase it for when I go on trips.
Yeah, I have the case. I have the special edition for Zelda. So I have that case that came with it. And yeah, it's a nice case, but there's a lot of different cases they sell, I think like for even $15. But yeah, I could not see having this without a carrying case. It definitely needs one.
But I want a special Zelda one. I'm also gonna be a sucker and like buy like Joy-Cons. I'll probably release like special edition Zelda Joy-Cons, and I'll be like, yeah, I need those.
Yep. Last thing that I'll say about the hardware that I've noticed so far is that I could not be happier with the USB-C.
Oh
charging
yes.
port.
Yeah.
Goodness,
It's
yes.
beautiful. And like I've already charged it on my like my portable charging brick just to test it out, and it's well, I found it really funny the other day. Someone decided to plug their Switch into like from the power port of the Switch into the power port of an iMac, the new iMac Pro. And the Switch apparently charges the laptop.
The MacBook, yeah.
Around. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm someone who already has a Nexus phone, and so that with USB-C, and so all through my house I have those chargers already. So
Nice.
I mean, even the Pro controller, the first time it warned me that it was running low on battery, which only happened once during my 45-hour playtime, by the way. I was like, oh, I just restarted. I had my phone charger like right there, and then just plugged it in, just right into my phone charger, right? That was plugged into the wall, and didn't even care.
I don't know what witchcraft Nintendo uses for the batteries for their controllers, but like their Pro controllers, this Pro controller, I've been playing with that, whenever it's docked in the TV, like this whole weekend, and the battery is still full. It's still showing full. Like, and then I have a PlayStation 4 where I need to plug that in at least every other day to start charging it again.
Yeah,
I don't get how
battery life.
Yeah.
I think I had to charge it twice during my playthrough of Last Guardian, which was like 10 hours.
Yeah. So something else does this have Bluetooth support at all?
Yep, and the Joy-Cons are compatible on Windows, Mac, and Android devices.
Yep.
How about for Bluetooth, like headphones or earbuds?
No,
not yet.
Yeah, that's something.
Not sure if they can update that, like with a software update, but yeah, I don't know if it has the capabilities or not. But yeah, it definitely does have Bluetooth support though.
Yeah, because I have Bluetooth earbuds that I would love to use with this thing, and because I'd rather not buy another set of headphones because I've kind of left corded headphones behind.
Mm-hmm.
But
It just makes me wonder if they're kind of staying away from that just for the battery's sake. Because I've played Zelda on it like from 100% charge until the battery died. It gets anywhere between 2.5 to 3 hours, which is definitely more than enough time to play a game like that. But yeah, I don't know. I really think that's why they're kind of staying away from Bluetooth as of now.
yeah, I could see that.
But one thing I
was just gonna bring up. I don't know if you guys have any more insight to this, but do you guys think the Zelda loading screens are a little long for the fact it being flash memory? I mean, it's not really a critique of the game because it's not something that I don't think they're really be helped, especially with the large world. But I think sometimes loading times are a bit long.
I've never been put off by them before, so I don't really know what you guys think.
I mean, just keep in mind though, when you're in the open world, you don't come across any loading times unless you go into like a shrine or a dungeon. So I mean, you're not going through like kind of like how you were saying, where the world just kind of organically just takes you from one area to another. Like you could be in the desert and then it'll organically blend into the snow. You're not going through like gates or like checkpoints or anything like that. But yeah, I guess when there is load times, they do feel a bit long. But I've never been like, oh my gosh, come on, this is taking forever.
Especially just going in and out of shrines and then fast traveling. My favorite thing to do is fast travel to a tower and then jump and fly somewhere and then explore that area, then fast travel back to the tower and then jump off somewhere else and fly around there. And sometimes it does load, kind of. If you jump off a tower and are flying somewhere, like sometimes the game will like pause for like maybe 1 or 2 seconds in midair. You just stop and then keep going again as if it was loading up the next area. Only happened to me like twice, but it did happen. But not a big deal. But
well, as far as like the Switch goes, just all in all, I definitely don't think it's a gimmick. The portability option, being able to play on your TV and then just take it with you, on the go whenever you want. I don't think that's a gimmick at all. And I really think like if it gets the support that I hope it gets, it really is something special, because just being able to play like that full Zelda in portable mode, and that's like, oh, the battery's running low, I better dock it, and I just put it in there and just instantly continue where I left off on the TV. It's just, you need to experience it to really understand it. It's awesome.
And it's kind of hard to say whether it's going to be successful or yet, because I think it has like some really strong things going for it and then some negative things. I think the strong thing going for it is that you have Nintendo's library always, which is going to be great. I think this is the best way to play games, as cool as the Wiimote was sometimes, and the dual screens of the Wii U, added a lot of cool things. Like this is just core gaming play, just the controls and the touchscreen is perfect, I think. And so with that, I think there's a unique opportunity for them to grab the mobile phone gaming market back. Like, I still don't like to play a whole lot of games on my phone because it eats my phone's battery, but there's several like mobile games that I would love to play on the Switch, just as a, not really Angry Birds, but something like Angry Birds. I see myself like bringing my Switch around and playing Angry Birds on my Switch more like I would pull it out of my phone and play it that way.
Yeah, like I could see myself wanting to play, like revisit the KOTOR mobile relaunch on the Switch or something like that.
Yeah, totally.
Any of those games, like classic Square Enix games, anything like that, I think would be great.
So I really hope Nintendo like opens up their market and just basically allows all these mobile game developers to basically just push their game right over, so to speak, and have it on there.
And like we were saying before too, with how quick the UI is, I mean, you can put it to sleep instantly and wake it up instantly. So it really is a portable device. It's not a home device that doubles as a portable. Like, it feels like it could just be a standalone portable because you can jump in and out. Like Zelda, I would have never considered that to be a portable game, but you could easily turn that game on really quick and play for 10 minutes. You could just run off and, collect like mushrooms or apples, for 10 minutes, like, and then just, put it to sleep and then just jump back into it later. Like, it works so well.
Yeah.
I am worried about the power of the console itself. That's not a bad thing in and of itself, but it's a bad thing in that third-party developers aren't probably going to want to develop a special Switch version
Yeah.
of every game when they can't easily port over, the current Xbox One or PlayStation 4 version of the game. So I think that's going to be once again a hindrance of third-party support, at least for the quote-unquote hardcore Xbox One and PS4 gaming crowd.
Yeah. Well, that's why I've always considered, I mean, you can definitely be a gamer and only have Nintendo's latest console and be fine. There's still, plenty of stuff to play. You are going to miss out on a lot of really big, like heavy hitting games on some of the other consoles or other platforms. But I always considered Nintendo's consoles as like a great companion console, where if you have like a PS4 or an Xbox One or a PC and whatever Nintendo's console is, like you're set. Because if Nintendo can, pump those like AAA titles that they make, and that they're known for every couple months or so, and then sprinkle in indie titles and everything in between, you're fine. And then you have, your computer or your other console, to kind of fill in those bigger gaps. But they need to find that middle ground. They need to find that balance. I don't think they're trying to become the primary console, but they definitely have some work to do if they want to be a great companion console.
Yep, I agree.
Me too.
So yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we're at about an hour and 20 right now, so we don't have much time to talk about the other topics we wanted to talk about, but I'm sure we'll get to them in an upcoming podcast. But I feel there's still a lot of good discussion, and for our many fans out there who are currently playing Zelda in the Switch, they gotta to relate with us on a lot of things. And for those of you who don't, why not go get them right now?
Yeah.
If you can find one.
Yeah. And I have not, I know we touched on it a little bit. I haven't personally played the Wii U version, but from what I hear, the Wii U version is just fine. If you don't want to jump into a new console and you already own a Wii U and you really want to play Zelda, it seems like there's no reason to not buy it on Wii U.
Yeah, the side-by-side comparison didn't look... I mean, you can tell the difference, but it's not like,
Yeah.
previous console jumps have been like
Well,
GTA 5 and Xbox 360 versus Xbox One.
Yeah. And plus, I mean, for collectors out there, I would love to see how many copies they're actually going to produce of Zelda Breath of the Wild on Wii U. Like, they can't make that many.
It's true.
The GameCube version of Twilight Princess is worth a lot more than the Wii one at this point.
Exactly.
So.
All right. Well, that was fun, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us once again, TJ. Always love to
you.
hear your input on many topics and not just Nintendo, even though it was just Nintendo this time.
Yeah. Well, it's a console launch. I'm sure we would do the same for any other new console.
Yeah. So as always, check us out on all of our social media stuff. Leave us a comment. If there's something that we didn't answer about the console, let us know. We'll bring it up next time or in the future.
So. Yeah, or just any questions in general, not even necessarily about the Switch or Zelda, just any questions that you might have, just leave it in the comments and can answer them on the next show.
For sure.
Yep, so thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.